pasar a un tema que ya hemos... Now we are going to move on to a subject which we have already mentioned. We said that President Chavez has characterized 21st century socialism as a participative protagonist democracy, a new economical model, and a new social ethic. And also that he has talked about the importance of not copying models. Socialism must be tailored to each country. And why it should be tailored to each country? Because, as Michael Leibowitz says, socialism doesn't fall from the sky. Socialism is built always in a specific country. Even though the goal may be shared by several of our countries, the road taken is specific to each country. And that is so, first of all, because each country has its own history and traditions, and has to start out from that history and those traditions. In Cuba, the guerrilla struggle came from the Mambisa struggle against the Spaniards. In other places there were urban insurrections, and in others indigenous uprisings, blocking roads, etc. Each country has its traditions, and also in each country the capacity, the training of the revolutionary subject is different, because they have had different historical experiences, different kind of struggle. So we cannot think that the revolutionary subject is similar. Moreover, another characteristic is that the starting point is different. Some countries are more economically developed and have more natural resources than others. For example, Venezuela's oil is not comparable with any other country in Latin America. So there are situations of greater or lesser economical development, different natural resources, different condition of roads, of infrastructure, etc. Many things. For example, the situation facing a country which begins a transition with its transport system, its roads, etc. in good shape is very different from one that does not. In Ecuador, for example, it's amazing that there are still places where the only transport between settlement is on horseback. How could one apply the same model to a country that has good motorways as to one that is only just beginning to set up communications between towns? So we are saying there are different histories and traditions, different starting point. There are also different correlation of forces in each country.
Es decir, Chávez triunfa con apoyo del ejército, un elemento fundamental del poder del Estado.
Chávez was victorious with the support of the army, an important part of the state power. This was not the case in Brazil, Ecuador, or Bolivia. Venezuela has not been dependent of international financial capital. It has its own resources and reserves. Brazil and most of the other countries are enormously dependent on it. The correlation of forces in parliament, in local governments, all the things must be taken into account. Remember that Evo Morales was governing with a Senate that blockaded everything until recently. Only his second mandate he has managed to get a majority in both houses. So, this matter of the correlation of forces is very important. Therefore, it's a very serious mistake to attempt to copy, and there are revolutionaries in other countries who wants to put pressure on their government saying, hey, Chavez is doing this, we have to do it. That is a mistake, because the majority of the leaders in Latin America cannot do what Chavez can do in Venezuela. I would even say not a single government. Well, from what I said before, it follows that each country is unique and therefore has a unique transition. And this also means that you cannot create a theory of transition which is applied as a model all over the world. What each country has to do is to draw up his own strategy of transition. We are going to see later on what are the goals that we want to reach. these will be common goals, pretty general. How to get to that point? The art of politics, as Lenin used to say, is a concrete analysis of a concrete situation, an analysis that permits to design the strategies and tactics that will lead to the goal.